This fall edition of the President's Town Hall. I know we'll have folks coming and going from the webinar throughout, which is fine. We have a number of things we want to get to today just to give updates to the campus community. We will hear about enrollment and related legislation. We'll get some updates on our major construction projects, sustainability efforts, a little bit of progress with workforce housing. We will also hear about strategic planning, an update on our visual identity and our centennial. And ASCOM has a number of great things, as they always do, that they want to promote and talk about. And our ASCOM president will be here to do that. We also have received a few questions ahead of time, and we'll work to get to those at the end. But to start, I just want to say a few words and thank everyone for attending today. You know, the fall semester, certainly like all fall semesters, has been very busy with a lot of great things happening, a lot of activities, opportunities. I have enjoyed being able to get out, interact with students in the classroom and on campus. And I know that for as much that's going on and as busy as everyone is, it still feels like summer a little bit due to the extreme heat that we've been having. Hopefully we will get a cool spell since we're already a week into October. But again, thank you for being here. And to start us off, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Dana Emerson. Many of you have had a chance to meet Dana in her almost 2 months here at the college. She is our new Vice President for Student Learning and Success. And this Friday will mark 2 months in the role. And she is here to talk a little bit about enrollment, give us an update, and then talk about some legislation that impacts the college and all of the California community colleges in that regard. So Dana?
Very good. Thank you, Jonathan, and good afternoon, everyone. I just want to give a very brief overview of some of the trends that are going on with enrollment, some things for us to consider, and the legislation that is over us right now. So next slide, please. So what you see here are some of our numbers, and I want to thank Holly for getting this information out to me. But what you can see is that in fall 2019, prior to the COVID pandemic, our head count was at 4,900, about 5,000 students. And as you can see, as of the first census date for fall of 2024, we're steadily approaching that number. So this is good news for the college. What this also means is that we have to also take into consideration some of the things that go into scheduling and some of the things that we should be considering. So next slide, please. So here are some of the constant things that we need to be keeping in mind when we're doing our enrollments, particularly since we are approaching that number of headcount coming back to pre-pandemic numbers. And one are our trends in allocating teaching units. One of the things that I ask is, are they aligned with enrollments? Are we actually having the correct number of teaching units aligned with the number of students that are actually enrolled in the classes and those classes moving forward, particularly at the census date? The next thing that we want to consider, or I would like for us all to consider, are our class fill rates. And this is really about how many vacant seats are available in each section, really at the census date. When we look at this, we can start to then do a better prediction of how we schedule classes for the upcoming terms and semesters. Next, and this probably should have been number one, but are we scheduling with the student at the center of our scheduling process? Does our class schedule actually meet the student's needs? In other words, are we putting classes on the schedule at a time when students can actually make those classes? And if we're not, then we do have a responsibility to go back and look and make sure that we're doing the best things for the students. The next thing on this list, another consideration, is, are there low enrollment trends for certain classes? And this will require some backwards analysis, looking back over time, seeing what the enrollments were for some classes and see if they are still trending in that low enrollment category. And if they are, then we need to go and start asking some questions about the class. Is it scheduled at the right time? Is it still relevant? Things of that nature. And then finally, for new courses and program needs in units, in a fixed budget. So this is really about efficiency. That efficiency provides us flexibility when it is that we are actually looking at new courses and programs. If we have the units available, then it allows us to actually do some exploration to see where new courses can fit in. As new programs come on board, do we have then the allocation of units needed to actually put those things into the schedule? So these are just some of the enrollment considerations as we start to approach that headcount number prior to COVID pandemic. So let's now move on to some legislative issues. Next slide. So there are two things that are coming up, the Cal-GETC AB 928 and the AB 1111, which is the Common Course Numbering. So Cal-GETC is the restructured IGETC general education pattern used for transfer. IGETC was used mostly for CSU transfer, but now we are now required to have a standard general education transfer pattern for not only the Cal States, but for the UC system as well. This new general education pattern was approved in May of 2023, and we are now obligated to institute that starting in fall 2025, particularly for the degrees that will transfer. Next slide, please. This is what the new general education pathway looks like. There have been some changes to the IGETC, meaning that ethnic studies has been added. Some classes have been removed from certain areas. And as we get closer to this, I'm certain that Sarah Mumquist West will be able to share more information with you about this. Next slide, please. So this, again, are just some of those differences from the IGETC to the new Cal-GETC. And as many people, many areas will be impacted by these changes. There will also be areas that won't, or at least it'll seem like they won't be impacted. Because this is for the transfer and it is the general pathways, we all need to be looking at the requirements in our ADTs and in our transfer pathway to see if we are actually aligned with what the state is asking us to do in terms of transfer. So again, more information on the Cal-GETC pathway can come from Sarah. Let's move on now to Common Course Numbering. So Common Course Numbering, also known as AB 1111, goes hand in hand with the general pathway, the general education pathway that is associated with Cal-GETC. So not only are all the colleges going to be responding to that general pathway, the California community colleges have also been asked to have the same numbering system for their courses. Again, this is something that was approved, and in fall of 2025, the first initial classes with that Common Course Numbering should be rolled out. This is what the state is asking of us. Not only are there changes in just the numbering to the class, but the nomenclature or the titling of the classes have also changed. So this will require effort from across the college and for those of us that need to understand where this is taking place in our catalogs, in our articulation agreements and things of that nature. I do believe that a lot of the work has been done, but because this has an impact to all classes that are being offered, the work will continue. The state is rolling this out in 3 phases. The first phase are the 6 classes, which used to be referred to as the Golden 4, which there are now 6. And let's see what that will look like. Let's move on. So this is what that Common Course Numbering will look like. So in phase 1, they're doing the test of this. There will be a phase 2 and a phase 3, but this is exactly what it'll look like. There will be the subject, it'll be the course type, and it'll be the number. And then there will be some other information regarding if it's a lab, if it's an honors class. And actually just today, the state has sent out even more updated information on this. So again, Sarah can absolutely help with understanding a lot of this. Let's go to the next slide and see what these numbers will look like here at COM. So as you can see, at college composition, the English 150 class will now be the English C1000 class, and it'll be called academic reading and writing. So these are all the classes listed on this slide that will be listed this way come fall 2025. These are the 6 classes that are in the initial phase of that test to see how we will move forward and making sure that this numbering system works with everything that we need to do in terms of transfer and offering students our classes. Next slide, please. Again, as I mentioned, there are next steps. Phase 1 was those 6 classes. There will be a phase 2, and then there will be a phase 3. And you can see where they're looking at all of the potential issues to be tested and rectified before we go into full implementation of the Common Course numbering. So next slide. So again, I ask if you have any questions about Cal GETSI or the Common Course numbering, please invite Sarah Malmquist West to your area. She would love to come out and share any information and any updates and how your area is impacted. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Great, thank you, Dana. And for those of you who don't know, Sarah Malmquist West is one of our amazing academic counselors. She is also our articulation officer. So she is very busy with all of these changes, which are also a good reminder that while we have a local governing board, our board of trustees, and we operate relatively independently as the public higher education in Marin County, we are not an island unto ourselves. We are part of the larger system. And that's where EdCode and all of these things come in. So in the long run, all of the changes that Dana just talked about will probably be very good for students across the state of California. But there's a lot of work that goes into that. And so kudos to our academic senate, curriculum committee, our counselors, everyone in all of the departments that are affected by all of this doing the hard work to make sure that College of Marin is well represented and on track for these things. Another area that we want to make sure we give updates on today are our 2 major construction projects remaining with our Measure B bond. And so it's my pleasure to introduce Beth Rhodes with Gilbane Construction, who is here today to give us that overview. Beth?
Good afternoon, all, and thank you so much for the opportunity to meet with you today. First project we're going to talk about quickly is the Bolinas Field Station. Jesse, next slide. This project is coming to a quick and fast end. As you can see here, a majority of the building is complete. The only items really remaining is to complete the roof and the fencing around that structure. Best news is that it is on budget and on time, ready to welcome program in January of 2025. Jesse, next slide. And next is our Center for Student Success. So this project is also on track. The contractor is focusing mainly on getting that building weather tight, even though, as Dr. Eldridge had shared, we are in the midst of a heat wave. We will quickly have weather. And so the focus is getting the building weather tight so that the interior can continue through construction while that wet weather is upon us. You can see framing, the roof is almost complete, and all of the preliminary site work is done as well. This building is also on budget and on schedule. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. It's interesting. I have been making my appearances in different classes, and one of the common themes that students ask about is the Center for Student Success and the timeline. I think people are doing the math in their heads about whether they will transfer or graduate or move on before or after the building opens. I assure everyone that as alums, they're always welcome to come back. And at the end, I believe we'll have a little bit of time for a couple more questions related to the building and beyond. But one thing I do want to say about the building is that I have been fortunate, along with Dr. Emerson and Beth and others, to take a monthly tour of the construction site. And as we head into spring semester, as the building gets a little further along, we do plan on organizing some regular tours that folks will be able to sign up for, and we'll get them in. You can put on the hard hat and we'll get you through the site. And that'll be into the spring when we do that. Not only are we experiencing extremely hot and sustained hot weather here in October, and have throughout the summer. I don't remember the last time we had any real rain in Marin County, but as we all know, there have been devastating hurricanes on the East Coast with more on the way. and this extreme weather and the warming of our planet certainly continue to be major issues that we all wrestle with in terms of the existential crisis that they create. And certainly at College of Marin, we have an opportunity, we have an obligation to really think about what is our climate impact, what environmental impact are we making, and what strategies can we take to ensure that we're being responsible stewards. So to talk about our sustainability and climate action strategy that is being developed is our Director of Maintenance and Operations, Klaus Christensen. Klaus?
Thank you, Dr. Eldridge. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. So at the beginning of the summer, I worked with a group of consultants as well as some maintenance and operations staff and some student ambassadors in order to begin this process and set some baseline metrics so that we can look at how we're going to proceed into the future to really drop and eventually eliminate our greenhouse gas emissions. Part of this process was looking back at all the really good work the college has already done in the past two bond measures and making sure that we are looking forward towards the future. We also used approximately 3 to 4 years of existing utility bills to really kind of try and hone in on where we can become more efficient, where we can transition off of greenhouse gases and identify the items that we are going to be moving into the future. Next slide, please. And with that, we came up with a sustainability roadmap, and you can see there are 5 main categories with subcategories under each section. One of the things that really jumped out to me, and you may have caught in the last slide, was the amount of transportation contributes to our greenhouse gas emissions. This is really going to be the basis for us to fine-tune all these items, whether it be electrification of our fleet here in the Maintenance and Operations Department and other areas of the campus, energy reduction strategies with efficiency in buildings or efficiency in watering. This is going to give us our next steps, which will lead me right into the next slide. And what we're going to do is work on submitting this roadmap to all our shared governance so that we can review it, so we can see how it fits into our governance structure and use this to try and develop a full mitigation plan so that we can set a concrete date on when the college should meet the 0% carbon emission guidelines that we've aligned with our state and local organizations. And then once we have that plan developed, we got to go to work and we got to get this stuff done. As Dr. Eldridge mentioned, this is some pretty unprecedented heat for us at the beginning of October, and it seems like it gets worse every single year. So we really want to try and push this to the end goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Klaus. And some of the graphics that he shared, we are finalizing those, and we'll get those in both presentation and in a narrative form out to the campus. There's a lot of work to do. I'm excited that we had students engaged in this process. They did some amazing work, and we will work hard to have students engaged moving forward in a variety of ways as we tackle all of these issues. So one of the ways that we have, as Klaus said, one of the ways we have a major impact on the environment are through the commuting, getting people to and from campuses. And of course, when half of our employees or more live outside of the county, even though most of our students live within the county, we have challenges in relation to getting people where they need to be without having an outsized impact on the environment. And of course, if we can have more folks live affordably within Marin County, that dramatically reduces the impact of commuting, coming shorter distances, not being stuck in traffic, et cetera. So here to talk about an approach we are trying to take with others in the county regarding workforce housing is our General Counsel, Mia Robertshaw. Mia?
Thank you very much, Dr. Eldridge. You may have seen in the Marin Independent Journal, which has written a few articles recently, both on College of Marin's exploration of education workforce housing, as well as Novato Unified and different workforce housing efforts underway presently. But really both from an environmental impact, a human impact in terms of people's time, and the physical impact of commuting, is we are exploring education workforce housing. The idea is, as the single institution of higher education, public higher education in the county, that College of Marin is very uniquely positioned to bring people together. With 17 school districts in the county, any one of those would have a very uphill battle to gain the expertise and devote the time to exploring workforce housing. Some are doing it anyway. Novato Unified and Marin County Office of Education is involved in the Oak Hill Apartments project. But we feel that workforce housing is important to create a more sustainable community. And also, as you look at the workforce, we do have a changing workforce over time, many both within the college and school districts. Basically, when you look at the workforce, classified employees and newer to the field, newer to the college or employer, as well as Black, Indigenous, people of color employees, are less likely to be able to afford housing in Marin, more likely to have less favorable housing, and highly interested in affordable housing, and more likely to remain in their employment when affordable housing is available. So our hope is to work together rather than paying, 18 architects across one for each school district, that there are economies of scale, that if we work together, we can pool our resources, take a bigger picture view of the potential locations of housing, and draw from a larger employee base to sustain workforce housing. So next slide, please. Thank you. This is very much in the preliminary exploration phase. It's a years-long process to actually end up with a constructed building that people are living in. But we are here in preliminary exploration, so we look forward to engaging all of you and others throughout the community as we move forward with this exploration. I don't know what will come of it yet. None of us do. But next slide, please. It can be done, and it has been done across the state. These are pictures of constructed workforce housing projects with community colleges or TK-12 districts within California. So we're looking to some of these really as guiding projects to see what potential we can explore here. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mia. This is a good example of something that takes a lot of planning and effort, but also can't be done in isolation. Similarly, our ability to reduce our environmental impact can't be done in isolation. And so it is great that the college is enjoying so many wonderful partnerships with nonprofits, with community agencies, with the county itself, throughout Marin and beyond, because we will need to be working collaboratively with lots of folks in order to accomplish these things. But just as figuring out how is it that we offer the right classes to students in the right ways, how do we utilize our facilities the best way, how do we mitigate our impacts and meet the needs of our workforce, all of these are things that collectively need some coherence to them. They need to come together in a comprehensive approach. And so Holly Schaefer, our Director of Planning, Research, and Institutional Effectiveness, is here to talk a little bit about our next strategic plan and how we are crafting that and what type of input will be most useful from you as we figure out how is it that we hang all of these things together in a meaningful way as we look to our future. So Holly?
Great, thank you, Dr. Eldridge. So for those of you who haven't already been updated on Plan 2030, we've been collecting input from the college community since last spring. At convocation, I gave a quick update of the framework, and this framework is based on all the input that you all have been giving us for the last several months. We divided that input into 3 strategic priority areas. 1, to make COM a great place to work. 2, to make COM the best place to learn. And 3, make COM a catalyst for positive community change. So this fall and into the spring, we'll be creating 5-year goals under each of those strategic priority areas. Now, the bullets you see under each area, each one of those will have at least one 5-year goal. So we're in the process of creating those goals now. Jesse, if you want to advance the slide. So we're collecting input from you all in a series of goal development discussions. Then what happens is the Educational Planning Committee takes all that feedback and develops a 5-year goal and an implementation plan that details all the work that we have to do to meet our goal. We had the first session last Monday on our teaching and learning goals. We talked a lot about innovative teaching and learning strategies. So universal design, cultural responsive pedagogy, AI, and teaching technologies, and other innovative modalities and other innovative learning strategies. So we got a lot of great input. Today's EPC, we're going to be starting to talk about what that teaching and learning goal will look like. Next, the next one will be on Wednesday, and that will deal with the other aspects of the make COM the best place to learn. So we'll be talking about student enrollment, access, academic support, and student success and student well-being. So that's this Wednesday. Hopefully you all can come because we're getting great feedback from you as far as what our priorities should be. Session 3 will be in November, Monday, November 4th. And that's when we'll be talking about 5-year goals for making COM a catalyst for positive community change. So we'll be talking about cultural leadership and events and environmental and climate change action with some of our community partners, and also our community equity and social justice work. And then finally, in December, we'll be tackling ensure COM is a great place to work. And so under that goal, we'll have professional development, classified and faculty, employee well-being, and organizational and operational effectiveness. And so that will have to that'll have to do with communication, using AI and other technology in our operations and in our teaching, and other employee needs that are coming out of the employee survey that we're conducting right now. So just to close out, I want to give everybody a plug. Please, if you haven't filled out your employee survey already, please do so. That survey is going to directly inform what our goals for ensuring COM is a great place to work over the next 5 years. So whether you're happy here, whether you're not happy here, whether you're generally happy and you have some feedback for how we could make COM a better place to work, please fill out that survey and let us know. It's anonymous. Nobody's, we don't collect any of your, we don't attach any of your personal data to your survey responses. And all of the data is going to be reported in aggregate. It's really to inform our institutional goals. So please fill out the survey. If you have any questions, you can email me at prie@marin.edu, and I will do my best to answer your questions. And with that, take it away, Dr. Eldridge.
Wonderful. Thank you, Holly. And I think that's a great example of how all of these things, we can make sense of all of these things. There is a lot going on, but each of them individually is important, but the way they come together and the way we can have them be part of a whole that ideally is greater than the sum of those parts is very important. So thank you for that. And thank you to everyone for your participation in the survey, in these open houses, and as we move forward. And there'll be lots more opportunity as we get to those, the end result of having our plan in place for additional feedback as it winds its way through participatory governance. We are, as I think everyone knows, I keep saying it, we are in our 99th year at the college, which means that we are on the cusp of celebrating our centennial. And as we began to engage folks around the centennial, we also started asking, is it time to update the visual identity of the college? This was something that Nicole Cruz, who's with us today, asked along with Shuk Chung, our lead designer, and I think as they started asking those questions and brought it to the board for some discussion, the sense was, yeah, let's see what the future of the college might look like as we determine how it is that we want to move forward as an institution. So Nicole, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about both the visual identity and where we are with centennial planning.
Great. Thank you so much, President Eldridge, and thank you all and good afternoon. So next slide, Jesse. Just a little bit of background. College of Marin was founded on April 6th, 1926. And that means that we have been the community's college for the past almost 100 years. And as such, we remain committed to educational excellence and providing equitable opportunities, as well as fostering success in all members of our diverse community. But as you've also heard, we are a catalyst for positive change and more equitable outcomes in Marin County. And we think that the new visual identity exemplifies where we want to go in the future. This new identity intentionally aligns with the college's mission, vision, and values, and it is responsive, it's dynamic, and what we hope it does is invites our community to look to us rather than up to us. So let's take a look. If you could advance the next slide, Jesse. Here you'll see some examples of our new word mark, logo type, and monogram. And in addition to aligning with our mission, vision, and values, the new College of Marin identity and our existing athletics identity will now nest together as an integrated visual family. And since that athletics logo and identity was introduced, we've seen that the elements have more resonance with our campus community. Our mascot is the Mariner, and Mariners venture into uncharted waters. They stay the course through rough seas. And these are some of the characteristics reflected in the determination and perseverance of our students and employees. Slide 3, Jesse. Okay, so as we recall, our centennial slogan is honoring our past, defining our future. And President Eldridge mentioned Shuk Chung, who is our senior creative designer and lead web designer. And I don't think I could say it any better than her description of the centennial visual identity and logo. COM's 100th anniversary logo celebrates our rich history and sets the course for our future. The compass rose, an integral part of our Mariners brand, encapsulates the essence of our institution's mission in stewardship. It symbolizes guidance and the creation of pathways within our community as we approach this significant milestone. The starburst design of the compass rose mirrors the enthusiasm surrounding our achievements and our journey toward the centennial celebration. The varying lengths of the strokes within the compass rose not only communicate the importance of embracing diversity, but also underscore our commitment to inclusivity. The circle's form symbolizes our unity, making each member of our community feel valued and a part of the larger whole. Overall, the 100th anniversary logo with its compass rose symbol represents our pride in the past, our aspirations for the future, and our unity as a community dedicated to COM's legacy and success. We could go ahead and advance the next slide to see a few more examples of the combinations. You'll see our traditional Mariners black and gold, as well as colors from 3 different palettes that convey the visual communication tones for our audiences. And the 3 color palettes stemmed from exploring different attributes and characteristics found within our campus community. So we have origins, traditions, and connections. And that's for our student and alumni group. Perspective, legacy, and nostalgia for employees and retirees. And impact, vision, and stewardship for taxpayers, donors, and the greater Marin County community. Now, we have the complete visual identity presentation available online, and you can scan this QR code and see that full presentation, which will be we'll be giving it next week's Board of Trustees meeting, and that's on Tuesday, October 15th. So thank you so much. I'll hand it back to President Eldridge.
And thank you, Nicole. And also thank you to Nicole for helping to coordinate the efforts of the actual centennial planning. So in addition to the visual, there's also all of the activities. And obviously there will be a whole host of things that we do every year that can have centennial thematic elements with them, the productions that we put on, the art gallery displays, all of those things. And then there will be some special events as well. And I know that the steering committee and the coordinating committee on campus are all looking at what might those events be and how can we showcase both campuses, the work that we've done, and again, looking to the future. I would say that we do have a commitment throughout the centennial, and this will develop over the course of this year, our planning year. But we do have a commitment to allow students, along with faculty and staff, to participate in project work, research, creation, other things that we can showcase as examples of the wonderful things that our students and our employees do, not only at the college, but in the community as well. And we will find many opportunities to display that work. That includes some incentives to do that work. We're in the process of figuring out how we can create some opportunities for students that will also come with either awards, some sort of funds of awards, or payment along the way in terms of internships or other things. So all of that will be taking shape over the coming months, and Nicole will be back to give us further updates on that front as well. And we have, as I mentioned before, a very busy fall of lots of great things taking place. And Riley Bowen, our student body president, is here to share what ASCOM is up to next. Riley?
Thank you, Dr. Eldridge, and thanks for having me, everyone. We have a busy fall coming up. So Jesse, next slide, please. ASCOM is hosting a few events to close out the semester. Right now, we're in the midst of Latinx Heritage Month, and that goes from September 15th all the way until October 15th. And during this month, we actually have Undocumented Students Week of Action, which is October 14th till the 18th. And ASCOM is hosting an Action Week event for Undocumented Students Action Week, which will be October 16th. It's going to be in the AC Quad. It's going to be from 12:30 p.m. until 1:40 during community hour. We're going to have a couple different activities, hopefully a lot of information and some organizations from our community outside of College of Marin who can offer kind of some help in terms of legal things, in terms of any questions that students may have. It's an opportunity to kind of lend a hand for some education and hopefully some good food as well. We will be having Chipotle, and Model UN is going to be fundraising as well, some beverages. Next slide, please. Next, we'll be having a date saved. We actually just recently decided we weren't going to be pursuing the haunted house idea, but we want to save the day October 30th, which is the day before Halloween. We want to do something spooky related. We have a lot of decorations, hopefully some apple cider and whatnot, whether that be a movie night or maybe something classroom spooky related. We're not sure yet, but that's kind of in the works. Hopefully we can get it outside or in a classroom. So we will get some more information about that soon. Next slide, please. We also have a Dia de los Muertos celebration coming up, and that will be November 4th. Time will be 12:30 to 1:40, and location is undecided yet, although I predict that it will be in the AC Quad, similar to most all of our events. I know that there's going to be a lot of activities during this event and some great food as well. Hopefully we will have some good partnerships come and join us to collaborate, but the event details are still being worked out. And I believe that is the last slide. Yes. Thank you, everyone.
Great. Thank you, President Bowen. If you do have any questions, either based on the content that we've covered so far or any different topics, you can feel free to put that into the chat. That'll come to the panelists, and we will work to get to those. We did get a few questions ahead of the webinar today when Jesse sent out that request. We also got a comment. One is that I'm proud of the work of COM classified professionals are doing as the lead of with the Caring Campus efforts. which is wonderful. Certainly a huge kudos out to all of our wonderful classified staff, the hard work that they do to keep the institution moving forward, and their work with the Caring Campus efforts that we all will be engaged in as we head into spring semester, but they're working hard behind the scenes now to get that ready to go. We had a question about that I think Nikki Harris, our Executive Director of Human Resources, can answer. A question about classified hiring and the pace of that hiring. Nikki?
Thank you, Dr. Eldridge. Hello, everyone. From my understanding, if there's an issue around classified hiring, we are in the process of moving forward with quite a few classified positions. If someone have a question, please feel free to reach out directly to me. Just a reminder, one of the things we try to do when someone vacates a position or retires is to really look at the position and see if that work is what we want to continue to do. Has it changed, or do we need to update the job description? So one of the things to keep in mind when we're doing when classified positions don't get posted right away is because we're looking at the classification to ensure that it's up to market and the language is relevant to today's market. Hope that answers that question.
Great, thank you, Nikki. We got something in the chat about being pleasantly surprised last night to see an advertisement featuring College of Marin in the I Can campaign for I Can Go to College. It made us look great, so kudos to whoever is involved in that. I'm sure that Nicole knows about that, but I have also seen on various television stations College of Marin featured in the Chancellor's Office's efforts to get students thinking about community colleges. So that's great. Another question that came up is around the function of the Office of Instructional Management, and just in the way that class or unit allocations are connected to class assignments and other things. Dana, do you have an answer to that question?
Yeah, so the function of the Office of Instructional Management, their primary role is the scheduling of classes across the two campuses and throughout the academic years. So that is the primary function. I believe there was also information or a request for about teaching units and things of that nature. And just so you know that this is part of a formula looking back at past performance, looking back at the needs, and then also creating a predictive instance of what could happen moving forward. And then it's mostly a collaborative effort between deans, the department chair, and the Office of OIM. And making sure that the allocations that are granted are those that are absolutely useful. And so I guess basically it's that the bottom line is how the departments utilize the allocations that they received. It is really up to them, but it does have an impact on the entire college. So I hope that answers the question.
Great, thank you, Dana. While we take a few more questions that we have, I wanted to make sure that we put up some plugs for upcoming events and hope to see everyone on Wednesday at Fall Y'all, as well as next week on Thursday and Friday at the Equity and Mental Health Symposium. Both of them are great free events. There's a full day of activities for the Mental Health Symposium, both Wednesday and Thursday of next week. You don't have to go to the whole thing. You can look at, see the different sessions, which ones make sense for your work day, which ones really are most interesting to you, and stop in for those. But hope to see you at both of those. I'm really looking forward to both. And a lot of effort from faculty, staff, and students have gone into both of those events. So we'll leave up the information about those so you can get any more details that you need while we are finishing our questions. Also, I believe this Thursday at 12:30 is a performance of Macbeth, which is going on currently in the James Dunn Theater. And the final weekend of that play is coming up this coming weekend, the 11th to the 13th. Okay, so another question, and Dana, you may have a sense of this as well, is will there be an overall manager for the new Center for Student Success?
Thank you. So, no, there won't be an overall manager. The nature of the new building is really this integrative approach to staffing and an integrative approach to meeting students' needs. So the idea is that the students can enter and get their needs met almost anywhere in the building. And so with that type of structure, there won't be a manager of the building. There will be multiple managers in the building there to oversee some of the services and supports that students will need as they navigate their way through the building. So I hope that clears that up.
Great, thank you. And it is still our intent to have the building open from, first thing in the morning till late into the evening. The library, of course, is at the center of it, but not to see it as a separate entity, rather as the heartbeat of the living room of the campus. The facility will also have our learning communities, reading and writing lab, tutoring center, academic counseling, wellness hub with psychological services, health services, and accessibility services, classrooms, meeting spaces, individual study places for students, small groups and individually. There'll be a cafe, the transfer center. So there'll be a lot going on in the building. I would say that our intent all along, and this remains true, is that when the building opens, and I think we're about a year out from the construction being done, and then we need to make sure the systems work and get the furniture in and start getting people moved in. But by spring semester, so January of 26, a year and a couple of months from now, that building will be open and operational. And at that time, our goal still is to then get the portables out of the campus and not have classes taught down at the far end in those old portables beyond the athletics area. So we believe we'll be able to accomplish all of that. Lots of work between now and then, and not only will there be tours of the building upcoming, but we will have additional opportunities to remind folks of what's going in, and certainly anyone who has a program or a part of a program or them or others who will be moving into the space, we will have a long and detailed transition plan outline that works with everyone to make sure all that gets taken care of. And that will ramp up in spring semester, continue on through the summer, and then into the fall as construction wraps up. But we really are excited for this new facility, and I do hope that you will take us up on a tour in the spring when we're able to do that. It's truly impressive. And it really does meet our commitment to ensuring that all students have adequate resources. I didn't even mention that a new food pantry and our basic needs support will be in there as well. Let's see. There was another question we received about employee parking spaces being removed from Lot 1 at Kentfield, and I believe we're just in a transition period that there will be signage about employee parking spaces going back into Lot 1. That this is just a temporary thing, a logistical thing as some signs get swapped out. So no worries on that. Let's see. Final questions here. Is there any vision plans to transform the portable areas at the end of Circle Drive into additional parking, performing arts, or charging stations? So yes. One of the things that you couldn't see the details of in Klaus's slides are that additional EV charging stations, infrastructure, support for a variety of forms of transportation is part of what we need to do. And we do want to expand where EV charging stations are. I learned 2 weeks ago a presentation from SMART, and we'll be meeting with the executive director of SMART here shortly to talk about ways we can expand transportation options. But I learned a couple of weeks ago that nationally, about 10% of new car sales are EVs, fully electric vehicles. In California, that number is 25%. So a full quarter of all new vehicles being purchased in California are EVs. But in Marin County, that number is over 40%. So certainly Marin County is a leader in that area. And we, as a college, need to be responsive to that. So it's going to be multiple approaches. For what happens at that area of Circle Drive? Is it more parking? Is it EV stations where there is parking? Are there other things that go on there? That's part of the discussion that needs to happen next. Similarly, at the core of campus between Fusselman and the Academic Center and Student Services, where the portables, the learning communities are now, there are lots of opportunities for some of these spaces on campus. No decisions have been made with that. We have more work to do to engage everyone's perspective on that, get input, and determine how we want to move forward. So the board will be engaging in those conversations, as will everyone, as we make the plans for the transition away from those facilities. But certainly there's a fair amount of space down at that end of Circle Drive. What we do with it, if anything, is a good question. And I'll look forward to getting lots of input on that. All right, well, I think that is the majority of our questions. I just want to reiterate that, as an institution, we have a responsibility to meet the needs of all of our students currently, but also to anticipate what the needs will be of students who are yet to come to us. As Marin is still a very inequitable county, many of the students who come to us, we are the opportunity they have. They don't have other opportunities for higher education, and that's a big responsibility. That's also why I'm so glad to be in this with all of you, working hard, coming up with not just the plans, but the real actions that improve the lives of our students and improve our communities. So with that, really want to thank everyone for your time today. I look forward to seeing you on campus throughout the rest of what hopefully will be a slightly cooler fall, including at Fall Y'all on Wednesday. So thank you all. Have a great afternoon.